His Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and both here in Glasgow and also online viewing this session from the Swedish Pavilion, Pioneer for the Possible and Pioneer for the Fossil-Free is the theme of what we are talking about here today. When it comes to the fossil-free, and this is very important, we do see that circular material flows, and I remember from COP25 in Madrid was really on the agenda. They started to talk about that in the closed sessions, not on the open floor. Here in Glasgow, I have met several people that really are speaking about circular material flows as the key thing, and it's spoken more or less on every place. And I do see that it can be because of Sir Richard Attenborough together with Professor Rockström in their movie that was this summer, Breaking Boundaries, the Science of Our Planet, did highlight that creating circular material flows will not only reduce the carbon emissions, but reduce the possibility to overshoot any of the 9 planetary boundaries. When I talk about circular material flows, a key component to make it happen is collaboration. And this will be the theme of this session. We will showcase 3 different material streams, 3 different collaborative activities that will create those possibilities to reduce the carbon emissions and do even more. This is a joint collaboration in the session itself between Alfa Laval and Ragn-Sells. And so we will pinpoint 3 different material flows, 3 different activities. So we will be very quick and showcase, and then in the end we will wrap it up with a summary from the State Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Sweden. My name is Larshans, and I will guide you through the session. And let's now kickstart with Alfa Laval and their collaboration with Stena Recycling. And here we have a session that will have a very compelling name, Remade to Matter. And I think we will start first with a film to see what this collaboration is about. So please roll the film.
When it comes to the climate challenge our planet is facing, there is no quick fix. Every piece of the puzzle will matter. And we need to accelerate the transition towards a carbon-neutral and circular future. It's not so much about stopping the things we are doing, as it is about starting to do things in the best possible way. Caring for resources is the key factor. Energy efficiency alone is estimated to be able to cut global emissions by as much as 40%. Recycling also saves large amounts of energy, with a reduced climate impact compared to producing raw materials from new natural resources. That's why this partnership between Stena Recycling and Alfa Laval is a perfect match. Stena Recycling helps industries to achieve a circular material flow, from the recycling of industrial waste and end-of-life products, to giving material new life in the making of new things. Alfa Laval develops energy-efficient plate heat exchangers, used in everything from heavy to light industries, data centers, and comfort heating and cooling in homes. Every year, new installations of Alfa Laval's plate heat exchangers reduce energy needs around the world by as much as 50 gigawatts. And it also saves 25 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions. Together, we have developed a unique exchange program. It's a sustainable solution that makes it easy to make a difference on a higher level. Whenever a new Alfa Laval plate heat exchanger is installed, Stena Recycling collects and recycles the old one. In this way, the same high-quality material stays in the loop and can be used by Alfa Laval to produce new, energy-efficient products. At the end of the day, you consume less energy and make a good contribution to circularity. Just like that. It may sound simple, and it can be if you are willing to collaborate across companies. We call it Remade to Matter.
Now introduce you to Fredrik Ekström, the Vice President of Energy Division for Alfa Laval, and Fredrik Pettersson, Managing Director for Stena Recycling in Sweden. And we have them now on Zoom here. I'd like to kickstart with a question, and please tell me, how has this partnership started? So any one of you would like to pick that question?
Yes, I can start. Well, in Stena Recycling perspective, this started when Alfa Laval contacted us right after the launch of a similar take-back system with ABB. That was regarding electrical motors. But as I understand it, Alfa Laval has been thinking about this for many years. So I hand over to Fredrik.
Right. And so Alfa Laval has been considering having a recycling program for our heat exchangers for many, many years. But simply the technology to do an efficient recycling hasn't existed. And coincidentally, we met ABB in March of 2020 up for discussions about energy efficiency initiatives. And they mentioned the collaboration that they had with Stena. That sparked our interest. We gave them a call, as Fredrik says, and then we went on to a really quick feasibility study. A year later, we launched Remade to Matter in May of 2021, and we're incredibly proud of that.
Then, of course, I need to ask you a question about the collaboration. Why is collaboration a must when it comes to those kind of circular initiatives? Any of you?
Sure, I can start this one off. So Remade to Matter is important because it really combines the strength of both companies. If you think about it in a traditional linear supply chain, the end of life of a product means that the product and all the materials that it's made of are wasted. With this program with Stena Recycling, we're able to recover about 100% of the metals from the old heat exchangers, and that minimizes the use of virgin materials in the making of new heat exchangers. But we've done something more than just recycling here. We have created a take-back program that builds on digitalization and making it easy for our customers to do the right thing. So at the end of the day, each heat exchanger really contributes in 4 ways: process energy efficiency, less consumed utilities, emissions reductions, and of course, less materials, and a new supply chain. Fredrik?
Yeah, to add to that Fredrik said, I will often say that the circular initiative often involves more than 2 stakeholders, as it normally does when you have a seller and a buyer doing business. When we create circular initiatives, it's involved at least 3 parts in this, let's say, solution. And that's very important because often you have to find out new business models, new type of corporations, higher transparency regarding the material flow and also the value of the money flow. So I think it requires a lot of new attention and let's say attitude to involve more companies, because 1 or 2 companies together cannot solve this together. You have to have more parts in this type of solutions.
Okay, touching upon that question, we are more or less addressing the whole world here, because on the opposite side to us we have Australia, on the right hand side we have Russia. What are your tips? What are your suggestions when other companies should initiate this type of collaboration? What are the secret formula?
Well, I don't think there's one secret formula to this. I think it's about finding a partner where you build upon each other's core strengths. And that's what really brings the value to our customers and the environment. And I think we've done a really good job at embracing our core strengths and differences and really building something special with Stena Recycling, which is both meaningful and rewarding.
Yeah, I think so also. And it's about mainly it's attitude. Attitude to find a new business model, attitude to find a new circular solution for the whole business. And it requires actually, as I said before, a very open and transparent cooperation to find this new business. So it's not one secret recipe. It's just to be sitting together and involve the strong competence you have in each company.
So in front of you now, as you know, you have the State Secretary from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Sweden, and so you can now address him. What do you want from politicians when it comes to support of energy efficiency, but also recycling in the society? That's a very broad thing, but you have the chance here now.
Well, I think I would start by saying that Remade to Matter is an initiative that really enables recycling, but it does more than that. Because one of the main advantages of replacing an obsolete or non-functioning heat exchanger is that as much as 50% of the solution that it provides can save energy and reduce emissions. And that's really key. We know that energy efficiency is one of the main contributors to the Paris Agreement. And that these technologies are available today and are affordable today is even better. Today, we joined the ABB in their energy efficiency movement today at the COP26. And most of those plans go out to have reduction of emissions by 2030. And that's from technologies that exist today. So I would say to our politicians to stay true and promote the energy efficiency first principle.
Yeah. Besides all that Fredrik mentioned now, I think in general, our wish from the perspective of the politicians is to realize their important role together with the industry to clear the way of all the present obstacles and also the future obstacles that will come up in order to take care of all the resources that we want to take care of. If we cannot do that to take away all the obstacles, we will slow down or even stop circular initiatives in all areas. I must say that in Stena Recycling we have over 100,000 customers, and I'm sure many of them are very interested to find solutions like we have done with ABB and Alfa Laval. It's not very difficult, but we have to have the help of all parts in the society. All the leading companies have a genuine understanding that if they are not viewed on as circular or sustainable, they will not be in the market after 2030, 2035. So there are huge willingness to find these type of interesting solutions. So we must act together.
I think that was very good words. I would like to say thank you to Fredrik from Alfa Laval and Fredrik from Stena Recycling. It is easy to be moderator when everybody has the same name. And to be honest, there will be another Fredriks later in the session as well. Let's now move over to another material flow that will make this. I'm going to show you something. That make this garbage trash to potassium. Of course, we need to recycle the paper and the plastics, what can be recycled directly. But if it's impossible, if it contains different kind of materials that need to be separated, then we will now see a technique that will be able to recirculate and extract the potassium molecule out of it. So therefore, we move over now to the studio in Stockholm, where I will have the honor to introduce you to first Mikael Hedström, the Managing Director for our Ragn-Sells Treatment and Detox Division. And then also at the studio, we also will have from E.ON, we will have Annette Blücher, Director of Energy Infrastructure and Solutions in the Nordics. So we see, do we have the studio?
Hello, Per.
Great to see you. We will first focusing on you, Mikael, and you will have the opportunity to give a short description. How do we get out the potassium? What is the ash to salt innovation? So please, Mikael, go ahead.
Yes. First, short background around fly ash. It has been landfill up to now on hazardous waste landfill. This has been a really safe way to take care of the material. However, landfills have a limited volume, and we came to the conclusion that this solution is not a future-proof solution to landfill valuable resources. Fly ash has a salt content around 20%, where potassium chloride is the most valuable and essential salt. Our innovation company, EasyMining, invented a way of extracting and splitting the salts from the fly ash. This process was patented and named ash to salt. We spent significant amount of hours together, for instance, Hitachi, Sosen, Innova, to develop this from a lab scale process to industrial scale process. Now, since early 2020, when we made the investment decision, we decided then to build this treatment plant for 130,000 tons of fly ash at Högbytorp outside of Stockholm. The plant will be ready for commercial operation in the fall of 2022, according to the present time schedule. And what we will do there is that we will extract and split the 3 salts, calcium chloride, sodium chloride, and potassium chloride. We will also extract ammonia from the ash. The plant will also clean the ash from chloride so that it will be usable for as a raw material for other industrial processes. But the most important thing is by taking care of our waste, we will extract salts that will replace virgin material, and by doing so, we will save significant amount of carbon dioxide.
Perfect. And I think we have a picture also to show, just very briefly. And here you have the possibility to see the process in itself. So we go from 100%, in this case, waste to become 0% waste, and everything can be resourced. At the beginning, the focus is on the salts. There will be 80% left over that looks like the same chemical substance as Portland cement. Yes. So the ambition is that within 5 years, hopefully, with more research, there will be 0% waste in the future. I'm very glad now to introduce to Annette Blücher from E.ON, and I do believe that the whole project in itself was really inspired with your ambitions. So please, E.ON, what are your ambitions, and what do you say about this ash to salt solution?
Well, you know, the cities all over Europe and population is growing, as we all know. And by that, the energy consumption and the energy need, but also waste. And in a perfect world, in the future sometimes, you know, hopefully our children have found an innovation that actually we have sorted out all wastes. But we are not there yet. So we need to make sure that we reuse as much as possible out of the waste, but also that we use as much as possible of the energy and the material within the waste. So, and as E.ON, as one of the biggest energy providers in Europe, we are taking an active part of that. But we are not doing it alone. We are doing it together in Högbytorp, in Stockholm, together with Ragn-Sells, where actually we get the waste into our incineration plant, and the fly ash, that is the rest product, we transport to our closest neighbor, Ragn-Sells, who later this year, I understand, will actually then make sure that they produce salt out of that. And I will also get ammonia back to my production plant. So I think this is a really good example of our initial idea and how we have made a holistic solution out of this, where we make sure that the landfill, as much as possible, is minimized, right? For me, however, and as E.ON, this is not enough. We need to go to the next step. So we need to reduce the CO2 emissions as well. And we have a couple of different products that we are currently developing. Of course, we are investigating carbon capture storage to make sure that we capture the carbon coming out of our plant in Stockholm. We're also investigating if we could produce biochar, namely a green coal produced for the steel industry. But also we need to look into the plastics. And we were talking earlier this afternoon about plastics, that we need to try to sort it out, as you also said, Per, initially, out of so that it actually doesn't come in to our incineration plant, because we don't want it there. So I hope that our future step for collaboration is actually including waste, or plastics in the waste.
Okay, thank you so much. I want you to stay put in and because I would like to come back to you. We will have now 2 speakers talking about the market potential. And of course, we start first with Fredrik Eide, country manager from GC Rieber. And I think he is in Spain, so now we'll call, I don't know, Madrid or where it is, but please, why are you interested in solution and what do you do as a company?
Well, we import minerals or salts to the Nordic countries, and the reason why we import it is that we don't have a natural salt deposits up here. In total, we import about 1 million tons, which obviously affects the environment. It's not the production of the minerals and the salts that usually are affecting the climate, it's the transport to the Nordic countries. Locally, the ash to salt process makes it possible that we can produce salts and by cleaning ash and you get dry salts, and those are also equivalent to the conventional salts when it comes to the quality. So this is the first time we have a local Swedish salt produced, and it's circular too. So it's really great.
And I understand you work with the industrial salts, so that will be the focus here to make sure that you have the high quality. The secret question or the secret answer that you need now to answer is on how much lower are the carbon emissions from the recycled or the produced salt from the ash to salt?
Well, we made quite an extensive life cycle assessment, and we compared the conventional production and the transport to Sweden compared with the ash to salt process. And the figures that we get is that we about 90%. That's huge.
That's very good, that because we almost lost you there, but we heard the 90s number, so 90% lower reduction. That's very, very good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We know now there is a market interest for the salts. Let's now talk about the market potential for the solution in itself. And therefore I will go to Switzerland and we'll talk with Volker Weinsdorf from Hitachi Zosen Innova. You're the director for sales and energy from waste. Do we have Switzerland with us? We don't have Switzerland with us, unfortunately. So it means that we can't talk with Hitachi Zosen Innova. So therefore, we do have Switzerland with us now. So please, Volker, the question to you is the market potential. We have now heard from Fredrik from GC Rieber that the salt has a 90% lower carbon emissions than what they traditionally buy. But now the question, what is the market potential in itself for the solution? We have a problem with the sound. We're going to see if we can get you.
Now you should hear me.
Yes,
Sorry.
I do.
We as Hitachi Zosen Innova, we are a global delivery of thermal treatment plants for waste. And we see that there is a huge market potential in markets where this has been implemented as a solution in order to treat residual waste. So there is this ash, which is typically disposed in landfills, and the landfill solution is not sustainable at all, as it is done today. So we see a huge potential just to separate the salts and to have some remaining matrix which can be disposed in usual landfills, not in hazardous landfills, which is certainly under pressure. So, and we as Hitachi Zosen Innova, we have engaged since long in sustainable solution. We are embracing fully the idea of not only waste to energy, but waste to X. So getting out of this process the maximum also of recyclable materials. We consider that this process is also able to deliver, for example, high efficiencies when it comes to metal recycling. And this technique of ash to salt just contributes to this idea.
We have a picture here. If you want to shortly describe what it means, we can have it up online again.
Yes.
So I think we'll soon have the picture. Yeah, now we have it on screen.
Yes. So this clearly identifies the idea We have untreated ashes, which are usually outside of the typical limits for landfilling and need to be brought into very special landfills. So by separating this into the salt fraction, which is considered as the difficult part, and producing a marketable product that we can reuse in other processes, we reach a kind of a remaining body which can be safely landfilled in compliance with the requirements of the laws and the legislation. And this is largely contributing to a more sustainable treatment of the waste.
Good. We started our session with saying that, well, the 20% of the salts can today be brought back into society, but at the same time we also stated an ambition that within 5 years, hopefully we will be able also to make a use of the other material, if possible, and that's our ambition. So we'll see if we can make it happen. What do you think?
We think that there are certainly further steps that we can do. We have, as I said, in particular in Switzerland, we have also in the past also further applied different treatment steps, and I think we can further improve here in order to separate also the a good part of the metals which are still in the remaining body. So in order to further clean the mineral which are inside, which can then be easily distributed or have the same quality, the same composition as the Earth's crust.
So let us come back at COP29 or COP30 and come with the new innovations. Thank you so much, Volker. I would like to go back to the studio in Stockholm and have reflections from both Annette and Mikael about what you heard from both Fredrik and from Volker. So Mikael,
you like to start?
Yeah, please.
Yes. So my reflection is actually that, from a European perspective, Sweden is, of course, a small country, right? But we are well ahead as regards both innovation and sustainability. We are more or less the Silicon Valley of sustainability, I would say. And I think that Ashes to Salt and the cooperation that we have regarding energy efficiency between different Swedish companies is really amazing and very inspiring for me as well. But we need to take the next step. So I'm looking forward to even more innovation from Ragn-Sells and everybody who has been participating here, because we need more innovation in this area, and also actually not to be afraid to try.
Yeah. My reflection on when I listen to Fredrik and Volker is that it's nice that we are on the same page, and this is why we work with you, basically. It's not a new thing for me, at least, that we are here together.
Good. Thank you so much. And then I close the third part. And now we're going to move the second part, not third part. Now we're going to move in the next part. And here we're going to talk about the solution that started more or less at COP25. So please welcome up Madeleine Gilborne. And you are, so I make sure that I pronounce your title correctly. You're the Vice President for Alfa Laval Clean Energy. And then we have Svärd, you're the CEO of EasyMining. So really great to have you here. Well, what happens at COP should not stay at the COP, and that is true, I would say. Madeleine, can you please tell me more about collaboration and what happened last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago. So yes. So let me just elaborate a little bit about the background to this partnership. So the acceleration to net zero really requires partnership across sectors. And COP for us is about finding these partnerships, but also to listen and learn to other actors' challenges and how we together can solve those problems. And this is exactly the foundation of the partnership between Alfa Laval and EasyMining. So we met in Madrid at COP25 about 2 years ago, and we quite quickly understood by working together we can accelerate these types of circular solutions. So the spring this year we launched a partner agreement that we should develop circular solution that can produce value from waste.
Jan Svärd, you are our CEO of EasyMining, and I heard that Mikael talked about this, or your innovation also that we talked about when it comes to ash to salt. What are your reflections when you listen to Madeleine and the partnership concept? And so please.
Yeah, let me just start by one reflection on ash to salt and why it's now becoming a full-scale, efficient and successful. It was, we realized that we could not do this alone. You saw that there was a real customer, somebody who actually needs the salt. There was an innovation company. There was somebody who was good at handling ash. And there was somebody who could scale up the technology. Hitachi is also in Innova. But we needed at least 4 to make this a commercial success and a commercial venture. And then we went to the next one, which is our nitrogen project. And as we said, we met 2 years ago and we had very good ideas and we started to scale our things. And then we realized, for the technology here, we really need a partner. We need somebody who actually is much better than a chemical and innovation company can be in decanters. And that's actually where it started. We said, okay, who's the best? Because I think in all collaborations, it needs to be something in it for everybody. And you really need to be equally important to everybody. And you really have to be good at what you're doing. So that's, of course, very good for us and a good selection, as we call it, to choose Alfa Laval. And I hope you feel the same about us.
So the nitrogen cycle is something that has been discussed in several sessions here at the COP, and there's a Colombo treatment or Colombo ambition that has been signed by many countries to make sure that the nitrogen cycle are really then created or made circular. So I think, should we call the studio, and we will have Anna Lundbom, the head of marketing for EasyMining, to demonstrate what are we talking about when it comes to the innovation with nitrogen. But first start, what is the problem? Why do they talk about this at the COP, do you believe, Anna?
Thank you, Per. Well, I think we have a picture that we can show about the linear material flow for nitrogen, I think.
Please put up the first picture so we'll see why we do have a problem.
So this is the linear flow that we want to do something about today. Because if we are serious about creating a sustainable and climate neutral society, we need to reuse the resources that we already have as many times as possible, over and over again. And that also comes for nutrients. So when we look at the linear flow or the material flow for nitrogen today, we first of all extract the nitrogen from the atmosphere with a process using a lot of energy and dependent on natural gas, so creating a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. We then use the nitrogen in the society, and much of the nitrogen ends up in wastewater treatment plants or in other wastewater streams. In the wastewater treatment plants, we have to remove the nitrogen in order to prevent eutrophication. And the technologies that we do that with today is releasing, for example, nitrous oxide, which is, of course, as all of you know, very damaging to the climate. So this is what we want to change. We want to create a circular loop for the nitrogen so that we reuse the nitrogen that we already have extracted in the society without releasing it back to the atmosphere. We can take the next picture, please. The process that we have developed, or the technology, is a two-step technology or two-step process. In the first step, we catch more than 98% of the ammonium nitrogen that is in the wastewaters without causing any nitrous oxide emissions. In the second step, we convert the caught ammonium nitrogen to clean ammonium salts. And the chemical that we use to catch the nitrogen is regenerated and sent back to the first step again. So in that case, we're creating a circular material flow here as well, preventing climate emissions or climate impact here as well that would be needed if we were to produce new chemicals for each loop. the ammonium salt that we produce is, as I said, clean and suitable to use in, for example, mineral fertilizers. In that case, replacing nitrogen or ammonia that we today would produce with extensive greenhouse gas emissions. Ironically, however, we are not allowed to use these ammonium salts in mineral fertilizers because we have a linear legislation, like for many materials, that focuses on origin instead of quality. So what politicians need to do is to create a circular legislation focusing on quality, not on origin. And that goes for many materials, nutrients being one. We can take down the picture there, please. Our chemical process is efficiently remove nitrogen from wastewater streams with a high concentration of ammonium nitrogen. And as I said, we're doing that without nitrous oxide emissions. We also use less energy that otherwise would be needed in order to produce ammonia for mineral fertilizers and to remove nitrogen from water streams in order to prevent eutrophication. At the moment, we are demonstrating this process. We're taking it from a lab scale to an industrial pilot plant. And we're doing that in a project financed by the EU LIFE program. The project will be finished in summer of 2022, so it's soon. And we're not only validating the process, we're also validating the climate impact and also the energy and the resource efficiency. Alfa Laval is an important project partner to us in this project, but we also have other important project partners. As many people have highlighted today, we need actors from the whole value chain or within the whole value chain. One of the areas where we see a great potential for this technology is wastewater treatment plants. And therefore, we have a wastewater company, Biofos in Denmark, as a project partner. We will now listen to Dines Thornberg, Development Manager at Biofos, explaining to us why nitrogen removal and recovery is so important to them and to the society. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dines Thornberg. I'm the Development Manager in Biofos. And Biofos is the utility that treats all the wastewater in Copenhagen, Denmark. Wastewater contains all the compounds that we humans flush or lead to the drains. Among these are nitrogen, in a form that could be used as a fertilizer. In the old days, the toilet buckets were collected and taken to the fields, so the nitrogen returned to the natural nitrogen cycle. This is not possible today from large cities. The risk of spreading disease is much too big. This is why we have the wastewater treatment plants. So the large cities have a very large accumulation of nitrogen that will cause eutrophication when it's led to the receiving waters without any treatment. So this is actually why we are removing nitrogen, and we have been removing nitrogen in Biofos for 25 years. The method we're using today, the biological nitrogen removal, involves the use of energy, and the nitrogen gets lost to the atmosphere. So we find the option of recovering nitrogen very interesting. And if we can produce an ammonia product that could actually be used as fertilizer, that would be very interesting too. The advantages for Biofos is that for every kilo of nitrogen we recover, we could actually save about 1 kilowatt of power. Potentially that could lead to a saving of about 2 gigawatt hours per year if it would be realized in all 3 Biofos treatment plants. Furthermore, the capacity of the biological wastewater treatment would actually be increased significantly, and that would mean a lot in our already partly overloaded plant, one of them. In conclusion, this climate-friendly process is closing the nitrogen circle is of high interest and relevance for all wastewater treatment plants in the world. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Anna, and thank you so much, Dines, even if you were on video. What I heard was that we can save energy by not being forced to use natural gas to incinerate it. We can save a huge amount of energy from avoiding today's processes when it comes to the biological treatment, and that was really new numbers for me. That was so much. And then thirdly, produce something that are very much needed, create the circular loop. And this week we have met with Professor Max Sutton. He is the professor of I would say, the most known person when it comes to nitrogen. And if you're interested to find out more about this, please then come in tomorrow at this stage between 10:30 and 11:30, because they will have the professor here. So we'll deep dive into the nitrogen cycle. And of course, if you're not here, and you can also see it on our YouTube link, or Business Sweden's YouTube link. So coming back now to you, Madeleine, and to Jan. Something happened 2 years ago. What happened? Can we go back to that? Because collaboration and creating this partnership, I think, is important. How do we make it happen? And can you give some advice to other companies as well?
Well, I think if it's okay if I start, I think Anna just touched upon it, and why we have this partnership, and why do we contribute as a company to being your partner in this. And it's because that these innovations are at piloting and demonstration phase, and that's often the case. So how can we deploy them? How can we scale this type of solution? And how can we commercialize this in a much faster transition to reach the circular economy? And I think that is one of the foundations of our partnership and why we work together. So Alfa Laval is world-leading in separation technology. So what we support with is waste minimization, zero liquid discharge, and chemical reuse within the EasyMining processes. So I think, Jan, you touched upon it as well. We come from two angles into this. So we combine the Alfa Laval's technology expertise, because this is what we do on a daily basis in other industries, and we are a global firm with well-proven technologies. But we combine it with EasyMining's innovative processes. And I think that we can accelerate the implementation and commercialize these types of solutions, which we all need to reach a circular economy.
Every time I've listened to you, Jan, you always talk about the importance of partnership. And you have a long experience of doing this with different industrial environments. What do you say? In partnership, how important is it?
In this case, it's extremely important because, and I always say this is the kind of fun part and complicated part of circular economy. Because in the trilinear economy, you have to be good at one thing and you deliver to the next and to the next. If you're going to make a circle, then you have to be good at many things. And no companies, and the value chain is going to be new. And if you try to be good at everything, you're not going to be good in anything. So that's why you really have to seek the partners that fits in to the model, and you create new value chains. And so without new value chains and partnerships, circular economy will not fly. I'm convinced about that, and I think this is a good example.
And I hear that exactly what Madeleine Gilborne also said to us before this session. A circular economy is impossible without partnership. Anything else you would like to add about that?
No, but I think it's the key. It's exactly what Jan says. If you really create a circular flow, it's impossible for anyone to have the competence or the spread to actually do it. So by definition, you have to have the partnership, but it requires very different competence. I would say that we are still pioneering as well when it comes to working in these new types of value chains and partnerships. And it's about competence as well. And I think we are really pioneering that in a very successful way.
So this started at COP25. Business Sweden put us together and said, I think that you should talk with each other. There might be something here. And this is the result 2 years later. Thank you so much. I think I will now ask for the Secretary of State, Christer Nilsson, to take the stage and give your comments and remarks about what you heard here about the 3 sessions. So please, you stand in the middle and what have you heard and what do you believe we should take with us?
First of all, thank you very much, Per, for allowing me to make some comments on the very important topic of partnership. I think what we've heard in all the presentations is truly connecting to the theme for this pavilion and what we talk about today, pioneering the possible. Pioneering the possible is about looking into new possibilities beyond what is the norm of industries or sectors today, showing possibilities that are not implemented yet. And I think that's exactly what we hear about. And here at COP26, also being able to see what are the potential, what is the potential impact when it comes to reducing emissions. That's when we also see the discussions we have here, what you present, could be a part of the policy making, that could be inspiring new commitments from governments. And even if I don't understand all the solutions that you have discovered and discussing and developing, it's truly simple to understand that using less material, remake from existing material, decrease the need for virgin material. Of course, that will have a very positive impact. And this is crucial for the low carbon economy, that we also have a circular economy that will enable the low carbon emissions and still having a feasible development when it comes to economy and job creation. And I also reflect on what you've been talking about, is pioneering the possible, or the work you do in partnership is also partly about a new mindset. That I think is important here when it comes to looking into what could be achieved, is also the mindset of saying we have the possibilities and looking beyond what is the responsibilities for us, not only having a secure business model, but also future-proofing the business model, looking into what then are the possibilities. And what I felt also as a kind of perspective that came to me during the presentation is what we talk about is what is beyond business as usual, or beyond what is the existing business models. So new technologies, new business models, new partnerships, that's what you talked about. I was noting down redefining the business models, and then you talked about remake. That's very much what I think it's about. Circularity as an important part of the COP26 and what we need to have as a, not changing only mindset, but what are the policies that we need to develop even further. The Swedish government have presented a strategy for circular economy. That's the beginning. I think what we see when you introduce what you can do, we have to look at that strategy and see what is the next level. You talked about new kinds of legislation that will reinforce the possibility of circular economy. And I think we have an initiative in the Swedish government we call COMET, which is also about looking into the different legislations, if that fits into what are the new business models when we transform very quickly business models and society. I think that will be one part of how we can work forward. So we need to create a framework which includes the incentives and, of course, the legislation needed. So I think that will be a part of the strategy for circularity. Your work will definitely be a part of what we see as pioneering the possible for a fossil-free, which is the theme that also Business Sweden is leading. And when it comes to the messages to me from this session, I think when we talk about energy efficiency as a priority, no question about that. We know that it's not only about replacing different sourcing for energy, it's about making everything resource efficient, because the need is there. It's so large scale, so we can't afford not to focus on energy efficiency. You talked about future-proof. I mentioned that. I think that's very important, that the circular models is a way of future-proof business models in all different sectors. I just noted the Silicon Valley of sustainability. That's a good way of viewing ourselves and encourage ourselves in the future work. Combining strength, that partnership is actually about the value chain becomes stronger because you add different strength in your companies. And also what was noted, the possibility of scale, because that's why I am here also representing the trade and the export perspective in these discussions, that if we see that it's the global solutions, it's the global potential, what we must see is the scale opportunity to increase the impact that we are discussing here today. And also, I think, as a final comment, to talk about competence, that partnership is needed because not one actor can have the competence in complicated value chains. Is something that we have to work on together. And I think the partnership we normally have between business sector, government and academia is one part of also addressing that question of how can we build a complete competence, circular competence in the way that we can meet the need and the possibilities you see for partnership when it comes to circularity. So that's a few reflections on what I've heard here today, and congratulations to the event, and I think it's important for how we can continue the discussion here at COP26.
Thank you so much. And on that note, we talk about the possibility to scale. We had a meeting today with the Professor Mark Sutton, and after the 20-minute scheduled, it became 1.5 hours. And after that, the last question was, how quickly can you have 100 factories up and running? How quickly can we have 1,000 factories up and running? So this is now on the verge to be launched, the first one. And then, of course, the question, how to do it. We have the market potential, we see the need, and so I think let's do it. So what's happened at COP26 will not stay at COP26, it will continue. Thank you all speakers, thank you Secretary, and of course thank you Alfa Laval and Madeleine, and of course Svärd and EasyMining. And thank you all viewers, both here in Glasgow but also online. We are ending here with the words from the State Secretary. Thank you.